Okay. Okay. Are we good? All right. I think I'm streaming. Just want to. I'm clearly not efficient at this at all. Like if I was actually efficient to. If I was actually efficient at this, I'd have a proper transition from that to me. But all I did was just play my trailer and just cover up my camera and then pull myself off. That's how I'm just gonna wait until I see some chats. Like I am probably gonna have to open. Can I open this up in another window? So yeah, I'm just wanting to wait a little bit until some people possibly show up. May have to contact some people again. Just give me a moment. I'm a little nervous here, but yeah, just do with me. Deal with me. So, I guess, hey YouTube, my name is Michael. I'm the host of this channel, the Kuro-Sil Chronicler channel, and yeah, I feel a little awkward right now because I'm talking to no one. There's no one really watching. Yep, and this is my channel, just Kuro-Sil Chronicler. Just give me a few minutes. I'm just waiting for people. Well, to start popping up. Happy New Year, anyway. So I should get rid of that. Don't want to accidentally bring up my emails. Yeah, it's a little dull right now. I don't know if anyone's even gonna pop in. I hope somebody does at some point. It's a gray day. Yeah. Should just get started. You should just record this and just instead. I wanted to do live streaming so that I could have some people interact with me. Read this on the YouTube channel. I don't know. Just. Why does nothing ever work? I just want people to. Well, anyway, it's a brand new year. My name is Michael. I'm the host of this channel called Kuro-Sil Chronicler. I'm an author, and I'm a guy who wrote this book series called. I'm trying to write this young adult series called Kuro-Sil. This is like a little cool poster spread that I created several months ago. Just like a little general logo of my story. Like, this is my book. This is what I published about almost 2 years ago now. It's kind of crazy to think. It's called Kuro-Sil, the Book of Humans, Reptools, and God. Do I have another picture? I don't have it on that. Yeah. This is a book series about... This is a little space fantasy series about a boy named Orin who befriends... While humanity's at war with this reptilian alien species called the Reptools, he befriends some members of their kind. And then they go on many adventures to help save humanity and unite both species together to end the wars they're fighting. Right, there it is. Something I've been working on for a long, long time, and I've really have been trying to figure out how to market this properly, because I think it could be something that people would really enjoy, but there's no one really there or no one here to really watch because I don't know how to market at all. I'm trying to do things independently, and you basically have to be lucky with independent stuff because, like, unless the algorithm seems to favor you, no one is gonna give you any time of day. So yeah, Kuro-Sil, like, it's just the story, just a boy befriending this alien race, and they form a tight friendship and just go on many adventures with going into a world of all sorts of wild alien creatures, and try to unite people under the lost, long forgotten faith of Christianity. It's got action, it's got humor, it's got like crazy, like supernatural, like kind of anime style battles. Got a nice little family friendship. Forgive me if I'm really awkward right now. I haven't done this. This is like my first stream in about a year, and it's just. Maybe I should just do this as a video because, like, I don't know what I'm doing here because don't see anyone watching. Even contacted people. This always happens to me. Anyway, like, this story is something I've been working on for the better part of, like, the last 10 years. Like, it's something I've been working on for a very long time. Like, I started outlining the series back in 2015, and I spent, like, exactly 3 years writing that whole thing. I tried initially... So, give me a moment. I'm just looking through some of my old documents. So, this book that I wrote here was something I published back in June of 2024. But before that, I started writing a book that I call Rebels of Kuro-Sil. I started back in 2019, if you can see that there. I swear like, even though it says it started in April 2019, I swear I could have started in January that year. Maybe I have it. I think I have another document on my laptop. I may have to check that. But anyway, yeah, I just could not get anywhere with it, and so I kind of gave up. But then I eventually went and did another thing, which was, again, this book. This is a little side story, and like the overall little bigger narrative that I have planned, which I think I got someone there. Yeah, I gave up on this, and then I started writing another book back in like late 2020. It took me almost 4 years to finally finish that. And then towards the end of 2024, I went back to my original story that I call Rebels of Kuro-Sil. Just ignore the little subtitle called For Real this time. I created this document in early November 2024, and went a very long way with it. And I have to... Where's the second part? Here it is. Had to split this in 2 documents because apparently Google Docs has like a character limit. Just give it a time to load. So I spent like the next 7 months writing a giant document, like here a big 41 chapter here, and then like up to 47. It's actually 48 because I added a new chapter. Yeah. Something I've been working on for a very long time. And now I'm getting very close to finishing this. I actually wanted to finish this story back at releases for Christmas, but I missed that deadline. Hold on a sec, just emailing someone. So yeah, I've got this really big document that's a very long document. See, I started this next book that I'm writing. I started writing November 2024, and I finished in July, and I spent another month writing a little side story focusing on another character. Geez, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing very poorly at describing this. Just always assumed that I'd have a big audience for this, and just God. So yeah, I've written a whole document. I'm just trying to figure out how to market myself because I don't know jack shit about marketing. I feel like you just have to get lucky, and if I wanted to, I could find like a publisher, but I feel like they'll mangle my story, and that would ruin the messages I'm trying to send, and probably just water down. Okay. May have gone a little too far on just all the stuff that I'm trying to include in my story, because could be like a 800 to 900 page long story, which doesn't seem very conducive for a young adult audience, but shoot, am I not actually live? So this thing is making me live. I don't know how to. Right, just. Nope. Why is nothing? There we go. Back. I can see my face again. Alright, like I'm at least showing that I'm live. I just wish that people are showing up. I feel like I had some people that were actually interested in what I'm. Just give me a moment. Not that. Sorry, I'm just doing stuff on my phone. Just give me a moment. Yeah, probably shouldn't be too self-conscious considering that nobody's really watching me, but, well, I just sent my thing to my editor, so hopefully people might pop in. Yeah, so what I was wanting to do this year was, like, since I like kind of failed to meet my deadline for getting this book released by the end of 2025, I'm still hoping I can finish this thing by around like sometime in spring or summer. All right, cool. Got some somebody now. Just not my, might be my only person. Hi, hey there. It's been glad you could show up. Yeah, might be my only person here. That's actually my editor. No. Yeah, I was wanting to do a little live reading of my book, which I feel like the first 2 chapters of my book, which I feel like feel really nervous doing so because yeah, it just feels a little weird just doing this to myself. I'm not good at talking live, but by the way, for you two, hey guys, just for you two in this, I've been kind of like struggling, just like trying to figure out how to get this thing going. Like I've just said, just give even a slight description of my story, and just talk about how it's been taking me 10 years to been on this journey of writing this series for 10 years. There's not much else. Like I'm just trying to figure that out. So just give me a moment. I'm not good with doing things live. I always try to be a little, just trying to get out of my shell and try to be more. I don't know if I'd be much of a showman and just be able to talk. Just God. I'm always wondering if I should just make a video recording and just put this on YouTube, but I don't know. God, why do I... Yeah, thank you for your consideration, but I just don't feel... I always feel worse than I may actually seem. I almost feel like this is kind of a mistake, but I want to get over this, and I want to do more live streaming, so... I guess I'll try restarting again, so... I guess I'll try starting again. Kuro-Sil just follows this boy named Orin, who lives in a time where humans are at war with this alien... He's called the Reptools. Well, then he gets taken into their world and gets... But instead of starts befriending them, and then like forms a very tight bond with these people, and they go on an adventure to stop the evil Reptools from enslaving humanity and end the wars between them, bring all life in the whole universe together under the Christian God, which has been forgotten in this time frame. Yeah, I've already written. Just want to forgive me if this is redundant, but I'm just going again. I've already written 1 book in this series, which is more of a side story in the greater narrative that I have going for this whole thing. But the side book is called Kuro-Sil, the Book of Humans, Reptools, and God. I need to figure out how to open a web browser. Maybe I could do a little chatting myself. I got an idea. So maybe I could. If anyone outside of the 2 people that are chatting here, if anyone cares to look at my book, then they could click that link to Amazon right now. So there we go. That's what it is. So yeah, the story follows. I'll go a little bit further. The story follows a boy named Orin who's very. Let's see how I can describe him. He's a bit of a, even though he's lived among humans who keeps fear mongering him about the dangers of Reptools. Like he's a more like innocent, more kind of precocious, like more like hopeful kind of kid who has beliefs that these people that not all of these people are good, and he wants to meet just one of them because he takes a big fascination to them in secret. We've got Korba, who's his protector. Like Orin gets taken away by this big guy named Kroll, who's this ruthless, this warlord trying to conquer humanity and end the war. He wants to be the hero to destroy the war, to end the war, become like the legendary hero. And Korba is the one who takes Orin under his wing to protect him from danger. This over here is Tyrion. He is like the prince of their people. He has a big close bond with Orin. Like he treats him like he's like the two like treat each other like they're brothers, and Oren and Korba are very close, like sort of like a father-son type relationship. These three, as well as Burke, their pet, go on many adventures to try to prove their worth to humanity. That this over here is this like big spider guy named Kedrick, who's a close friend of Tyrion. He's a big like prankster type of guy. He's like very fun-loving, goofy character, like makes jokes and they like to crack jokes and just be fun. And this is Nalari. He's a servant race of Tyrion's, and he's his personal servant, but she's a close supportive figure to Tyrion, who's like almost kind of like a little sisterly type of vibe to him. Yeah, I've got plenty more characters. Like all these guys in Shadows are all allies of this guy Kroll up here. So yeah, just goes on. My story's just got a big little found family type of deal. Like it's got action and got a lot of crazy like kind of anime style action. Not much that you can see since my book is just a book, but these characters have got superpowers that give them can make them perform incredible feats. Like Oren can like create light. Like he's got like this holy light within him to give him like super strength. Like Korba here, he's got this ability to like project big red like shield barriers to help protect him. Like Tyrion's a dragon, he can breathe fire and stuff like that. Hope I'm not going too fast because it's kind of hard for almost a bit hard to describe just like out of the blue like this. I'm just trying to introduce this. So yeah, again, like, so this book that I've already published I published in June 2024 as a side story to my main story. Like I've been working on this whole franchise for over 10 years now. I started outlining the series back in December 2025, and although I've had it in my head for longer than that. Excuse me. I've been just trying to figure out how to make this plot go. I spent like 3 years from 2015 to 2018. And then in 2019, in 2019, like I actually started the first novel. I have, like this says I started this back in January. Well, no, April. Although I feel like I have started something in January. Yeah, I initially wanted this first book to be published like at the end of the year because I just kind of wanted to see if it'd be funny if like a brand new sci-fi series could like compete with like Star Wars, because that would be the same time that Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker released. So I was hoping like to make something new for people, but it never went anywhere because I was just super self-conscious of my own work. I just kind of gave up. Like I tried over a year to try to write story for it, but didn't really go anywhere with it. So I eventually started with a little side story I call The Book of Humans, Reptiles, and God, which is what I linked to in the live chat. And that was a little side story. It's just a little story that gives you like an introduction for my characters. It just shows you like who they are and how they live, and gives them a little day in their lives as they go on this mission to rescue humans from this human slaves from this factory that they're toiling in. And then Kroll, the bad guy Kroll, will follow them and try to capture them. And it's just a little like one and done little standalone adventure to give you a little taste of it, and then eventually, and once again restarted my original story called which I call Rebels of Kuro-Sil. Started this back in early November of 2024, and I have this whole document that a very big thing. We managed to figure out how to tell this story properly this time, as properly as I can make it. Have 41 chapters in this document. How to split it up because Google Docs has a word count that I never knew about. And then I eventually ended it here in chapter 47 with a little epilogue. It's actually 48 chapters because I wrote another chapter after this. I even have like this little. I also have a little outline for my story. Like I actually started on my laptop because I was on a plane ride, so I couldn't use Google Drive, so I had to use it on just like a regular document there. So I started actually on Halloween 2024. And I wrote a bunch of these chapters all throughout last year, ending the main story July 21st. And then I wrote a little side story that took me about a month from July to August. And I wrote the new chapter last November, so yeah. It's been a hell of a year. And I wanted to release this last Christmas, so but considering the sheer size of my story, I wasn't able to do that. And I hope I can get this done by around hope I can get this done around spring or summer. And my editor and his editor in the comments telling me I can, but yeah, just we'll see how it goes. But I think as a little like New Year's thing, I'm hoping to see. Thinking about doing like a little live reading of the first 2 chapters of my book. Feels kind of weird doing this when I only have 2 viewers. There's no one here really watching, but this is gonna be weird. I've never done a live reading of my story, but oh god, I feel I have read. It's not that I can't read, but I just yeah. Yeah, it's not that I haven't read before, it's just doing this on the internet for everyone to see is just a weird feeling, but well, yeah, I guess I could give it a try. So, I actually have a prologue up here that's don't know why that's there, but ignore that. Yeah, I actually have a little prologue, but when I spoke about this with my editor, I feel like he said I could just skip that, so I think I'll skip the prologue. But as a little aside, like, there will be little comments from the narrator of this whole story, who's this enigmatic, this kind of like mysterious figure who just calls himself the Kuro-Sil Chronicler. Which is what I named my channel. Just like it's not supposed to be me, but it's supposed to be like this figure that's supposed to be living in the time that the story he takes place and is writing it long after the fact that after the story ends. So he kind of has a little bit of little quips that he likes throwing in there. He's not like just some kind of like he's like it's not like just like the usual kind of dialogue you see for a book where it's like I don't know what they call it. Just like some kind of narrator that doesn't really take part in the story, but yeah, my narrator, the chronicler, is supposed to be like a character in the story itself. Kind of like, I don't know, say, Lemony Snicket from a series of unfortunate events. Kind of an example I can give. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So yeah. Whew. So yeah, I'm going to give a little reading of my first 2 chapters. I don't know if anyone else is going to... Oh, I got somebody else. So, yeah. So I'm going to do the first 2 chapters, just bear with me, this is going to be interesting. So yeah, here we go. So after a little prologue talking about like just some things about Orin, who's supposed to be a famous character, we go into chapter 1, Guardian Training. Just ignore it, then let us begin. It's supposed to be like following up off the last line of the prologue, but anyway, let us begin. It all started in the beginning of the Galactic Standard Year 5026, April 1st to be exact, though the months had different names in that time. An airship traveled high above the forests on the small moon of Terraris. On cruiser Teonis 5289, you are clear for landing, the control tower said. Copy that, the pilot replied, and the pilot flew onward toward a large forested hill. Keep in mind there's some stuff I could probably fix up in the time after I read this until I eventually publish this, but yeah. Inside the ship were not the usual occupants. Inside were over 50 children, most of them boys with the occasional girl, all dressed in sleek, formal Terrarum clothes, and most with well-groomed hair. They kept quiet, as per the rules of their instructors, but this didn't stop some from whispering to each other. "Where do you think we're going?" one boy asked. "Are we going on a military camping trip?" "We shouldn't be," another boy sitting next to him responded. "I thought we were going to learn about star charts." "Don't you idiots know? We're going to learn how to bust reptool heads," a tough boy responded. What do you think that big test we took was for? A mousy boy sitting near the back heard them and whimpered. Aw, don't cry now, Jace. Those lizards would never eat a bony kid like you. They'll probably just maul you and leave you for dead. Ah, why did my parents sign me up for this? Jace whined. Leave him alone, Blaine. Do you want us to get in trouble? A girl with bushy brown hair spoke up. Oh, sorry, Tess. I didn't mean to upset your boyfriend, Blaine teased. No talking on the ship, their instructor, a balding, stern-faced man in a blue uniform, barked. Yes, Instructor Cold, the children replied. Tess, however, was still curious. Do you really think we're going to learn how to fight the lizards, Lynn? She asked the girl sitting next to her. Come off it, Tess. We're not cut out for the Guardian Coalition, Lynn said. Tess scoffed at her and turned to the two boys seated behind her. Hey, Daniel, do you think we'll become Guardians? I hope so. Dad would be upset if I didn't. A boy with jet-black hair and a bandana around his head replied. Tess turned to the other boy, who was wearing a thick woolen hat. What about you, Orin? What are your thoughts? Tess asked. The other boy didn't respond. He was just gazing out the window with wide brown eyes. Orin? Tess asked again. The boy didn't answer. He didn't seem to even notice her until Daniel nudged him. Ow, what? Tess is talking to you, Daniel said. Orin looked at Tess. I was just wondering, are you ready to become a guardian? The girl asked excitedly. The boy looked down to the ground and shrugged. Dunno, he muttered, his attention returning to the window. Come on, Or, don't be like that, Tess said. Ignore him, Tess. He's too weird, Lynn said, and Tess sat back down. Smooth answer, Or, Daniel replied, but his friend didn't acknowledge him, as he was deep in thought, wondering what was in store for him. Salush. Yes, you guessed it. That boy was none other than Orrin Hawkins. Long before he became a hero, long before he awakened to any powers, he was just a normal young boy, going on what seemed to be a normal school trip. He wasn't comfortable in big crowds, which is why he sat near the back of the ship. So this is another thing that was from my prologue. Like, the prologue is kind of alluding to the fact that Orrin has already, this is written long after these stories have concluded, and saying that Orrin was a legendary hero, so that's why that's there. He had an idea of where the ship was going, though. His older brother Christopher told him the previous night. You still haven't figured it out? Christopher's words echoed in his mind. You're going to Guardian training. You're going to be a man for once and learn to kill non-humans. That's not true. That can't be what the Guardians do. Orrin's words echoed. Tough luck, little bro. Sooner or later, you'll have to grow up and stop dreaming about aliens. Orrin shook his head, ridding the thoughts. He hoped his brother was just being his usual arrogant self. But Christopher was a Guardian, too. Orrin wondered, was that really what a Guardian does? The ship approached the large hill, and the trees vanished before them, as they were nothing but holograms, revealing a large clearing. The ship came to a landing, and soon after, the door to the ship opened up. Attention! Instructor Cold shouted. At arms, recruits! Yes, sir, the children replied. Instructor Cold spun around and led the children out of the ship. Orrin and Daniel stood up, ready to exit. I could probably word that better, but yeah, no big deal. Orrin, someone said. Orrin jumped. Did you say something, Dan? He asked. No, why? Daniel replied. I thought I heard... if you don't mind me, I'm just probably going to see if... Okay, cool. I guess I just wanted to see the live chat. So this may be a little bit ugly, but I feel like I may have to do this because I probably should have thought about hooking up my TV screen to my monitor so I can actually see this while I'm reading. Oh well. Can't do that now. Orrin jumped. Did you say something, Dan? He asked. No, why? Daniel replied. I thought I heard... Orrin decided to drop the subject. He didn't think Daniel would understand. Orrin took another step. A step as the children filed out. Orrin! There it was again, very audible to him, but not Daniel, apparently. It didn't sound like someone on the ship. It almost sounded like it came from outside. The boy glanced out the window, looking for the source. He waited intently to hear the voice, unaware of the time going by. Meanwhile, Daniel walked with the rest of the children towards a large green dome. As they... ignore that. They slowly filed inside. Tess looked toward Daniel, her eyebrows raised. Daniel, where's Orrin? She whispered. He's right. Daniel looked to his left and flinched. Where is he? I thought he was with you, Tess said. Daniel's eyes went wide. Oh God, he might still be on the ship. I'll cover for you, Tess said. She spun us around and screamed, Look out! Bornak! The children started screaming, and the soldiers armed themselves. Thanks, Tess, Daniel said, and he slipped away from the crowd to return to the ship. He slipped past the guards there and went to the seats, to in fact find Orrin still looking out the window. Oren, Oren heard the voice say again. Who are you? Oren asked. What do you want from me? Find me. Oren flinched. Find you? I don't even know you. Oren pressed his face against the window. Who are you? Oren, snap out of it, Daniel said, shaking him. Oren flinched and turned to him, unaware of the passage of time. Did I say that earlier? Yeah, sorry about this. Don't mind me if I'm doing any live editing. Oren turned to him. What? I'm busy. Busy enough to miss roll call? Daniel replied. Oren gasped. Oh crap, am I too late? You're fine. Tess distracted the crowd by claiming she saw Bornak. Now come on. Thanks, Dan, Oren cried. Anytime. They ran out of the ship to rejoin the others as they were filing into the large green dome, passing by many soldiers armed with vaporizon rifles, who saluted them as they passed. They settled into some seats without anyone noticing, due to the soldiers investigating the area for the Bornak attack, though Instructor Colt gave Oren a stink eye. Why are you so winded, Hawkins? Nothing. I just thought I saw the Bornak. I'm fine, sir, Oren panted. Colt scoffed, clearly not believing him, but turned to his class. Now I want you on your best behavior, you hear? Instructor Colt demanded. You may be able to get away with roughhousing at the academy, but out here, one slip, and you'll be sent back home without a second thought. Am I clear? Yes, Instructor Colt, the students replied in a bored tone. Colt nodded and sat back, letting another soldier take his place. Roll call, the soldier said, and began counting off the children in attendance. Tess looked around the dome as he did, seeing hundreds of other children inside. Look at this turnout, she exclaimed. There must be kids from every school on Terraris. Oren, Daniel, and Lynn looked around too. Is everyone going to become a guardian? Lynn asked. Don't make me laugh. These losers can't compare to my might, an overly confident boy sitting nearby said, leaning back on his chair, his feet propped up and arms outstretched. He stood out quite well with a big red stripe going down his black hair, which wasn't standard Terrarum protocol. Oren rolled his eyes. It was his least favorite student in school, Zacran Regulus, the only one who could get away with unusual hairstyles. What makes you so sure, Zac? Everyone here looks capable, Tess said. Please, none of these idiots will make it past the first test, Zac said, standing up to pump his fists. Meanwhile, I've been training since I was 5 years old, and I ace every physical test. None of you even stand a chance. You said it, Zac, Blaine said, and the two bumped fists with each other. Like the Guardians will ever accept you, Zac, Oren muttered. Zac glared at Oren. Did you say something, Ori? Oren gulped. He stammered. He didn't say anything, Zac. Just ignore him, Daniel said defensively. Oh yeah, just defend the lizard lover, like always, Zac said. I don't know what you see in him. And who are you, young man with hair like that? The soldier asked, approaching Zac. Zac faced the man with a smug smile. Zacran Regulus, son of the famous Callan Regulus, he said. And just you wait. I will become the greatest guardian of all time. We'll see about that, the soldier said, humbling Zac ever so slightly. Oren Hawkins. All eyes turned at the mention of his last name. Oren groaned, but this was normal for him, considering his father's reputation. Present, Oren said quietly. Ah, the son of Harrison Hawkins, the soldier said. We're expecting much from you. Several kids muttered, and Zac scowled back at him. Oren felt uncomfortable at the attention. The soldier looked Oren over, noticing a black choker around his neck. Why are you wearing that choker, son? It's, something my dad insists I wear, Oren answered. Whatever for, the soldier asked. That choker is not Guardian protocol. He won't tell me, Oren said. My dad says it keeps me safe, but also that if you have any problems with it, to take it up with him. The soldier shuddered at the thought. I see. You can keep it on. But you'll have to take off your hat, son. Oren froze. Do I have to? No hats within the Guardian Dome. The counter... This probably should say that. The soldier said, Take it off. Oren groaned again. He knew he wasn't going to get away with it. He slowly pulled off his cap and revealed a thick, messy head of hair as white as snow. Many kids gasped at his appearance. Has it gotten colder in here? Zac said, and the kids laughed. Oren couldn't have been more embarrassed. Son, why is your hair white? The soldier asked. I don't know, Oren said. It's been like this my whole life. The kids muttered again. But Zac has that ugly red stripe in his hair, and no one ever calls him out on it. That's because I've done more than mooch off my dad's success, Zac rebutted. Other tough kids backed him up. Oren glared at him, and Zac looked proud. Silence in the crowd, the soldier said. While neither of your hairstyles are encouraged, Mr. Mr. Regulus's record speaks for itself, Mr. Hawkins. And if you can prove yourself, maybe you can keep your garish fashion statement. Now sit down. He turned back to the children. Jason Deltas. The mousy boy, who was sitting next to Zack, didn't say anything right away out of fear. Then Zack poked him in his pressure point. Present! Jace screamed, making the children laugh. Orin sat back down, uncomfortable with the kids staring. Serves you right, Hawkins, Zack said. Orin glared at him, but Daniel held him back. Once every kid was accounted for, the counter stepped aside. Everyone rise, Cold said. Presenting Sir Lewin Starblazer. Every human knew the name Starblazer from a young age. He was the most esteemed guardian in human history, until Orin's father came around, that is. Every child in the dome stood up and watched a dignified middle-aged man with graying hair slicked back and wearing a silver suit of armor enter. He took center stage and turned on a voice amplifier that hovered in front of his head. Greetings, young members of Terraris and throughout the Terrarium Enclave, he said, his voice very dignified and mature. It pleases me to see how many fresh new recruits pleases me to see so many fresh new recruits in front of me today. The children were in awe to hear him talk to them. Now, I'm sure all of you are wondering why you've been brought here in the first place, correct? You were all given a special test 2 weeks ago, determining your loyalty to the humans of Terraris, am I right? Starblazer asked. Every kid raised their hands. Good. If you were wondering what that was for, then I am here to tell you. He paused for dramatic effect. You are here to train to become guardians. The kids all began to chatter in excitement. Some, such as Jace, became afraid. So that's what that test was for. I knew it, Tess exclaimed. See? I told you all, Zack said cockily. Starblazer held up his hand, and the kids quieted down. I'm glad you are all so eager to join, he said. Now, how many of you know what we Guardians are for? Many more kids raised their hands than was expected. Well, then I am here to answer all your questions. He took out a holo projector and placed it on the floor. It lit up and displayed an enormous screen that showed pictures of armored people standing in file and marching. The Guardians, Starblazer said, turning up the volume on his amplifier, are humanity's protectors. Armed with the greatest weapons and skills, we are super soldiers to guard the small moon from all kinds of threats. And what is our greatest threat? Aliens. The screen behind him changed to show frightening images of non-human creatures of all kinds, causing many kids to scream. Yes, everyone, alien life does exist. And yes, we are their prime enemy. But it is our sworn duty to protect humanity from outsiders seeking to destroy us. We do not bend, and we will always be there to protect the weak. That is the Guardian way, and one day it will be yours. The kids chattered excitedly at this. But first, a history lesson. 3,000 years ago, humanity lived on a faraway planet known as Earth. We were at the forefront of science and discovery, and were just beginning to develop traveling through the stars. Should word that again. And then they came, the Reptools. The screen behind him showed images of vicious reptilian monsters, scaring Jace again. Wait, I thought they were called lizards, Lynn said. That may be what you call them, but their real name is Reptool, and for consistency's sake, that's what I'll call them, Starblazer said. Moving on, there are many alien races out there, but none are as fierce or as menacing as the Reptools. Hailing from the distant planet Tul Rakalosh, these creatures travel the stars, looking for more planets to enslave. On the day of Earth's end, they destroyed our home planet, slaughtered billions of humans, and took the rest into slavery. They ruled over us with an iron fist, all to entertain their bloodlust. Many kids shouted angrily at the screen, which showed images of the reptilians conquering humans. But then, shortly after our enslavement, 2 humans, known as Elias Major and Miriam Stellaris, discovered a secret power that could overcome their reptilian overlords, the power of Astron. They discovered a new element within the air the Reptools breathed that gave them unnatural powers, and after studying it, they discovered they could utilize it themselves. So they wielded that power to create the augments to fight against their masters. With this power, they freed many humans along the way, created the Guardian Coalition, and formed the Terrarium Enclave. I should probably... a free star cluster away from all alien life, where we can live in peace. But this angered the Reptools. They don't like it when their slaves escape, nor when they wield greater powers than they use. So they and many other aliens working with them are determined to put us back in chains. Many children muttered in fear and anger. But fear not, young ones. You have been selected by the Guardian Coalition to become recruits for our cause, and for the next 2 weeks, you'll be trained by the best among us to one day join the ranks of the Guardians to defend humanity. But don't get cocky, you little brats, Cold spoke up. This is not school. You'll be tested in your aptitude for augmentation, and anyone who abuses their powers will be sent back home immediately. That's enough, Wellens, Starblazer said. Though he speaks the truth, you will be tested in powers you are too young to fully endure. But I see promise in all of you. With my help, you will join our ranks, and who knows? Where's that? Who knows? Maybe you will be the generation that ends the reptile menace for good. And I'll be the one to do it, Zack shouted, pumping his fists. The kids cheered for him. I am thrilled by your vigor, young man, Starblazer said. Now let's stand for the Terrarum Oath. The children stood up, put their right fists to their chests, and quoted, I stand with mankind now and forever against the alien menace that puts us in chains. There are no beings that can sustain the universe, only man. May we never forget those who died for our freedom. May we one day slaughter the aliens who took us from our home. Humanity now, humanity forever, and humanity only. All the kids began to cheer. Humanity is the future! All of them, except for Orin. He had heard this lecture for many years in school and always felt like their teachings on reptiles were full of hot gas. But here was a professional like with Lou and Starblazer saying the same things about the aliens he had heard so many times now, especially from Christopher and Zack. But it couldn't be true, could it? Could the reptiles truly be irredeemable monsters? Their first test started soon after their lecture, where they went outside into the clearing. This is your first test with augments, an instructor said. You will be given the smallest taste of the power, as too much can kill you, no matter your age. Jace whimpered at hearing this. Now we will be testing you 10 at a time. What we want to see is if you can use the power to fly just a little bit. Now show us your resolve to protect humanity. The kids all went forward at different times and were handed small harnesses. Each of them had different results. Tess and Lynn rose off the ground a little bit. They were a little shaky, but they could easily improve. Daniel went higher than they did, impressing their instructors. Zack, on the other hand, blasted high into the sky. Regulus, get down on the ground, Cold ordered. The Starblazer quieted him. Zack did a few flips, then glided safely to the ground, striking a powerful pose as he landed. The crowd cheered at him. Even Cold clapped quietly. Everyone was thrilled, except for Orin, who rolled his eyes. Wonderful. Now that's the making of a great guardian, Starblazer said excitedly. Zack passed off his harness to Orin. Your turn, Ori, he taunted. Orin breathed quietly, trying to ignore him. He put on the harness alongside a few other kids and prepped himself. He knew the basics of augmentation. Just concentrate and let loose, as he had once overheard his father telling Christopher. So he crouched down, took a deep breath, and focused his thoughts on the power. He could feel his mind clearing up. He breathed in and was ready to take off. Come to me, Orin. It was the voice again. Right then, Orin lost his concentration, then burst forward and crashed on the ground. Many of the boys laughed at him, with Zack looking insufferably smug. Well, we can't all have our parents' genes, Starblazer said. This was not what Orin wanted to hear. However, as much as he embarrassed himself, at least he did better than Jace, who launched himself into a nearby tree on complete accident. The next day, after testing with augments again, the children were given swords and blasters. Today you will learn how to use Materion blades, Starblazer said. He took out a cylindrical handle and flipped a switch, materializing a red plasmol blade, to the oohs and ahs of the children. Finally, I get to hold one of those, Orin thought excitedly, having seen his father use them all the time. Remember, young ones, these are dangerous tools, not toys, Starblazer said, which is why you will all be given dulled blades. Figures, Blaine said. The children took their weapons and were given 5 minutes to score the most points against holographic targets. Similar to the day before, Lynn did average, and Tess scored fairly high. Zack, however, wielded his swords and blasters with ease, scoring the highest out of all of them. Daniel, however, raised his hand. What's wrong, Norris? Cold asked. Lost your nerve? No, but I was wondering. Do you have any spears? Daniel asked. I don't feel like swords fit me well. We have just the thing, Starblazer replied. He signaled to his men, who handed Daniel a long, silvery blue pole. A gleam spear for you. Daniel turned it on, both ends lighting up with turquoise plasmol energy. He twirled the weapon around with grace and skewered several targets, scoring just below Zack. That's more like it, Daniel said proudly. Orin was up next. He lifted a Materion blade, surprised by how heavy it felt. Use your augments to lift it up, young Hawkins, Starblazer encouraged. I'm trying, Orin shouted, though quickly felt bad for mouthing off. He tried to lift the Materion blade and power it up with augments. Come on, Orin, lift the stupid thing. You're not going to blow this test too, he thought to himself. Orin, come to me, the voice came again, distracting him long enough to end his test, scoring just below Lynn. No. I could probably delete that. That's a little redundant. Unfortunate, Starblazer said. Sorry, dropped something. Orin didn't like hearing this, especially when Zack jeered at him. His humiliation didn't last long, however, as Jace flung himself backward into the dome with one shot of a blaster, sending a spray of blaster bolts as he lay on the ground panicking. Somebody take that blaster from that kid! Colt shouted. Though Orin felt bad for Jace, he felt slightly better he wasn't the worst kid there. Aside from training with Guardian equipment, the kids were given more teachings about the aliens they would be forced to fight in the future. They learned of many they had never heard before, such as Minuars, bull-like aliens with the largest mercenary force in the universe, Mechoids, robotic beings used for their technological enhancements, Pongorons, who, while most humans have never seen them, run the largest criminal empires in the known universe. They learned of the spider-like Skaterkas and the deer-like Servals, who are used as slaves by most aliens. But of course, most of their lessons were spent on learning about the reptiles. Most of these lessons went on without incident, except for one day a week in. At nearly 10 feet tall, these beasts are not to be treated lightly, their female teacher instructed. They can rip you in half without breaking a sweat. Their teeth can bite through duranium armor with ease. Their scales are nearly impenetrable without magnum or materium blades. They all wrote down notes diligently. Orin did the bare minimum, as he believed this was nothing but fear-mongering. While reptiles are quite varied, the teacher continued, they can be boiled down to 6 main subspecies, which are named after old Earth reptiles. The holoprojectors displayed each reptile before them, starting with a small green humanoid lizard with sleek scales and a much taller gray one beside it. First are the regular lizards, resembling smaller Earth creatures like chameleons and iguanas. They are the weakest of their kind and used as common cannon fodder. The monitors, which are technically another breed but are usually grouped together with the smaller lizards, are similar to them, but larger and much fiercer. The next images were of 2 reptiles, one with a serpentine tail and one with a thick shell on its back. The snakes will creep up on you and eat you in your sleep. They are spies and assassins and can kill you when you least expect it. The tortoises are religiously minded and completely zealous for order, acting as monks and scholars. They are especially dangerous despite their calm demeanor. Many reptiles resembling the ancient dinosaurs were projected. Then there are the dinosaurs, who are primitive and stupid, but exceptionally strong and deadly. Avoid whenever possible. The last image was of a humanoid dragon with horns and wings and spikes on its spine. And finally are the dragons. They are the rulers of the reptiles. Ruthless, power-hungry, and wielding unknown powers, they are the most dangerous of their kind. Do not attempt to fight them on your own. They are humanity's greatest threat, so let the generals take them on. Everyone wrote down the notes. All except Orin, of course, who noticed one other kind of reptile shown. A green humanoid crocodile. What about that one? He asked out loud. You should have been paying attention, Hawkins, the teacher said without looking at him. No, you missed one kind, Orin said, pointing. What about that kind? The teacher glanced at the remaining reptile and scoffed. You mean the crocodiles? She asked. They are a special level of danger, even compared to the dragons. They are known for their massive appetites and can eat the entire Guardian coalition and still have room for seconds. Though they may be fat and lazy, do not approach the crocodiles. They only have food on their mind, and children such as you are merely a meal to them. Looking at you, Jace, Blaine said. The children laughed at Jace's scared face. Orin looked at the crocodile's glum look and felt bad for it. She's lying. I know she is, he thought. Quiet in the back, the teacher scolded 2 troublemakers playing with hollow fighters. Pay attention, all of you. Reptiles take pleasure in killing, enslaving, and even eating children like you, and if you aren't prepared, you will be their first meal. Yeah, only if you've never seen them before, Orin blurted out louder than he expected. All eyes turned on him. Zack glared. Daniel looked embarrassed, and Tess looked concerned. Is there something else you'd like to add, young Hawkins? The instructor said coldly. Orin couldn't believe his mouth. He knew he couldn't shy away from this, so he looked at his instructor in the eyes. I was just thinking, he began nervously. You say these reptiles are merciless monsters. This isn't opinion, this is fact, the lady replied. Yes, but... Orin wasn't sure where to go with this. What if they weren't as bad as you say they are? Some kids, specifically Zack's friends, threw their pens at him. Orin knew this would happen. Quiet, quiet, the instructor demanded. On what grounds do you believe I forgot it. I'll just delete that. On what grounds do you believe non-humans aren't evil? Orin began to sweat. I don't know. Have you ever seen any? Even if you have, just because you saw one bad reptile doesn't mean they're all bad. All at once, Zack shot up from his chair and to confront him, pounding an augment-powered fist on the table. How damn stupid are you, Hawkins? He shouted. The lizards are enemies of humanity. They keep slipping into our space to take more humans in chains. What, do you like that they do that? Are you some kind of lizard lover? Is that it? No, Zack, you got it all wrong, Orin cried, holding up his hands defensively. I'm not a lizard lover. Instructor, throw Hawkins in the hold, Zack shouted to the instructor. He's always talking about reptile this and lizard that. He's a lizard lover, and he should be made an example for any traitors to humanity. Tess tried to stand up, but Lynn held her back. Both of you sit down, the instructor ordered. Regulus, well, you are right about what you said. We cannot fight amongst ourselves. The two were then forced into their seats by armored soldiers. As for you, Hawkins, the reptiles are not your friends, she said, turning to Orin. There will be no peace among us, because they thrive on violence. If I hear one more word, your guardian testing will be immediately ended. Now, will we cause more trouble? Orin cringed. Of course they would be harder on him, but he swallowed and said, No, madam. I should hope so. Now let's continue. Orin couldn't focus for the rest of the lesson. He knew his points would be shot down, but he hoped someone would understand. So he stared at the crocodile, wishing he could meet it to prove the teacher wrong. Then he received a message on his holo tablet. It showed a humiliating cartoon of him hugging a lizard with the caption, Lizard Lover, on the top of it. He deleted it immediately and glared back at Zack, who pretended not to notice. It's never fun when you're all alone in your beliefs. Orin had known that long before he came to this camp, but it felt worse here than at home. The days went on very slowly for Orin Hawkins, with others picking on him for his interruption, and he didn't improve in his testing. Each time he tested with the augments, something would break his focus. Pardon me? And he barely paid attention to his classes. Most people stayed away from him, as the rumor of him being a lizard lover spread throughout the camp. Orin tried to ignore it all, but slowly ate away at him the entire time. And Zack was acing all his exams with flying colors, which made things worse for Orin, especially as he kept bragging about how much better he was than him. On the last night of camp, Orin had the most restless sleep he had ever had in his life. The insults from his peers and his poor test results eating away at him. Yeah, could probably word things better, but yeah. As he lay down in the tent with his peers, he pondered his future, his doubts nagging at him for hours. He wondered if training to become a guardian was worth it. He hoped being a guardian was about traveling the stars, meeting new species, and discovering new planets while defending humanity from all hostile forces that wished to do them harm. But the more he learned about the Guardian Code of Ethics, the less enthusiastic he became. If being a Guardian was just about fighting endless wars against every alien species out there, then maybe he didn't want to become one at all. Was what the instructors said about the reptiles true? Were they truly evil at heart with nothing redeeming about them? That couldn't be right. Nothing was ever purely evil, was it? Of course, he had no way of proving his ideas right, having never met a reptile in his life. But still, something didn't sit right within him, deep down. There had to be more. There had to be. He couldn't let that dream die. He had to become a guardian. He had to learn more about the reptiles. Eventually, Orin slowly closed his eyes as he casually played with his choker, hoping there was some hope for his future. The voice came to him again, louder than before. Come to me, Orin. The voice... Probably could delete. If you don't mind me doing that, just... The voice came to him again, louder than before. He opened his eyes, finding himself standing in a black void. A cold wind blew past him, cutting him to the bone. It wasn't a natural wind, but one filled with decay and despair. He wasn't sure, but he felt like he heard moaning voices in the wind. It felt like he was under attack by spirits. The voice came again. Do not be afraid, Orin. Come to me. Your destiny awaits. Hope you don't mind me doing like little live edits here. Just want to make sure this... Oops. Pardon me. There we go. Just want to make sure that... Just trying to make this conducive for me, if you don't mind. A white light flashed in his eyes. Though it was only for a second. An image in the middle of the light was clear. It resembled a cross in the middle of a galaxy spiral. Then the wind blew harder, pushing him away from the cross. Come, Orin. Come. Probably could just... Come to me. The voice stilled the wind for good. What are you? Orin shouted, unsure where the voice came from. What do you want with me? Your destiny, my son. Your destiny lies with me. Came the response, the cross flashing again. What destiny? Tell me! Orin cried. He reached out to the cross, but it seemed to be getting farther away. Come. The light slowly faded, leaving him in the darkness. No, please! Where are you? Don't leave me! Orin pleaded. He felt his body shake. Don't leave me! Orin! Orin, wake up! Another voice said. Orin was jolted awake. He was back in the real world in his sleeping quarters, his body sweating. He found Daniel kneeling over him. Daniel, what time is it? He whispered. Shh! Daniel stretched, then whispered. It's 1:30 positive. Humans in that time calculated time through positive and negative system, mind you. I got something to show you. Follow me. He tossed him his coat and went to the opening of the bunker. What's going on? Orin whispered. Something you won't believe. Now come on. Before the soldiers catch us. Daniel then stepped out of the bunker. Orin didn't know what was happening. Daniel wasn't usually this excited about things, though this made him suspicious. Nevertheless, he put on his coat and shoes and slipped out of the sleeping quarters. Daniel motioned for Orin to follow him, and Orin obeyed. Daniel led him silently through the bushes, ducking out of the way whenever a soldier passed them as they approached the barrier shield. Daniel, what are we... I said be quiet, Daniel snapped. He pulled out some kind of device from his coat and cut a hole in the barrier. He stepped out of the hole, and Orin followed instinctively. Where the blazes did you get a barrier cutter? Orin demanded. I have my connections, Daniel said proudly. Now shut up and put this on. We don't have much time. He handed Orin something he recognized as a tracker jammer, which could keep their signals from being tracked by the guards. He clipped it on his belt, the device beeping once as it turned on, and Daniel retrieved a mini radar and smiled. This way! Now Orin was growing concerned. They were breaking God knows how many rules by breaking out of camp unsupervised. He would have gone back to tell on Daniel, but he was no snitch. And Daniel quickly got ahead of him, so he had no choice but to keep up. Hopefully to keep him out of trouble, because whenever Daniel acted seriously, which was uncommon for him, there was no changing his mind. But he had a strange feeling someone was following him. Probably them, but whatever. Daniel led Orin through the trees, up and down hills, and over a river with a fallen tree for a bridge. It felt like they had this going on for hours. Probably could word that better, though it was probably about 15 standard minutes. Each time Orin tried to speak up, Daniel kept shushing him. Orin didn't like where this was going. Was Daniel trying to get him killed? But at that time, Orin was very much a follower type. Once someone did something, no matter how stupid, he would follow along, and he would never think of questioning them. They passed through a tunnel on the ground. Daniel checked his mini radar again and smiled. Yep, this is the place, he said to himself, holding a hand to his ear. Orin accidentally ran into him and frowned when he shushed him again. Daniel, are you going to tell me what's going on finally? Orin asked. In a few moments, Daniel said. Just trust me on this. Dan, what's gotten into you? Orin said angrily. It's the middle of the night, and we're probably miles away from camp with no soldiers to protect us. Barely even 1 mile, Daniel retorted. For the love of... Will you stop this? Orin said, his voice rising. This isn't like you. What are you even doing? Tell me right this second, or I said, shut up! Daniel said, covering his mouth. I'm doing you a favor, and I'm not trying to hurt us. Now will you please be quiet and trust me? There was a tense silence between the two as they stared at each other. Though Daniel acted cynical at times, Orin knew he ultimately cared for him. Orin eventually nodded, and Daniel smiled. He then held up a finger. Do you hear that? All I hear are the flicker bugs, Orin said, his voice muffled by Daniel's hand. No. Listen closer. Orin did. He had no idea what he was supposed to hear. Then he heard it. Guttural sounds. Roars and snarls. Sounds that didn't belong to a human. "Who's up for Namek round?" a fearsome voice called. Orin's ears buzzed in shock. "It can't be," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. Is it?" Daniel nodded, his face beaming. He motioned for Orin to follow, and Orin obeyed eagerly this time. They came to the crest of a hill and looked down. There was a large alien ship with a large dome on the top, 2 large wings stretching from both sides like a dragon in the middle of a valley. And milling about were aliens. Not just any alien, but the one that was humanity's greatest foe, the one Orin had dreamed of seeing with his own 2 eyes all his life. In the valley were reptools. It's chapter 1. Kind of a long one, but hey, I got through it eventually. Now, chapter 2. Probably put this down a little bit, just, oops. Never mind, this document is kind of weird. There's a feeling one has when doing or encountering something extraordinary, like meeting a celebrity you admire or becoming the champion of a major sporting tournament. Or for me, knowing there is someone out there reading my writing on Orin. Apologies for self-aggrandizing, just had to rant. That's the chronicler speaking again. It's a feeling of amazement that you've seen or done something truly unbelievable. That feeling was what Orin had as he peered down in awe into the ravine. Experienced wonder he hadn't felt in a long time. Orin rubbed his eyes to make sure he wasn't dreaming. Fortunately for him, he wasn't. He still couldn't believe what he was seeing. Reptools, he thought, his eyes glued to the activity in the valley. Reptools, he then said aloud. Shh, quiet, Daniel warned. Orin didn't listen. Daniel, those are reptools! Daniel chuckled and handed him a pair of binoculars. Orin took them to get a better look, and his joy increased. Around a large campfire sat 25 reptools, with floating light orbs illuminating them in the darkness. There was such a large variety of them, Orin's head was spinning. They came in many different colors, sizes, and even shapes. Some had bony crests on their head, some had horns, and some had shells. But they all had scales for skin, elongated snouts with sharp teeth, sharp claws, and their eyes, which when Orin caught glimpses of them, were singular color and had black slits for pupils. And of course, they all had enormous tails that swished proudly about their bodies. The reptools walked on 2 feet, unlike the pictures Orin had been shown during their lectures, though some were slightly hunched over. Some wore elaborate clothing, completely different from a human's, and some wore little, exposing their muscular or fat, tattooed bodies. No school lecture could have prepared him for how incredible their mere presence was. They were a sight to behold, and Orin couldn't pull his eyes away from them. So, how's the view? Daniel asked. Dan, how did you... Orin was at a loss for words. How did I know you wanted to see these reptiles? Daniel answered for him. Oh, I could tell you were feeling down this entire trip. I thought you should give you a little encouragement. Thank you, Dan, Orin said happily. I always knew you were interested in reptools. Daniel shrugged at that. But how did you know about this? Wouldn't the Guardian Coalition try to keep this hidden from us? You can thank Caden on that end. Orin laughed. Of course, I should have known your brother was involved. I still never thanked him for that reptilian dagger he gave me. Don't worry about it, he knows you're grateful, Daniel said. Anyway, according to my brother, they've been around terrarium space for a few days, but have shown up out here about an hour ago. I don't know how they snuck past our security, but they did, and the GC aren't aware of them yet, so we better hurry back before the Guardians find them. Or worse, realize we're gone. No, let's just stay a little bit, Orin said. I want to get a little closer. A little closer? I don't know, that sounds a little risky. So? You're the one who brought us here in the first place. Daniel thought this over, and knew Orin had a point. All right, we'll get a little closer, but only for a few moments. Oh, before we do, put this on. Daniel took out an oval-shaped device and attached it to Orin's belt. He put one on too, pressed a button, and the device covered them in a pungent scent that stung his nostrils. Phew! What's this? Orin asked. Scent masker. It'll hide our own scents from the reptiles. They have powerful noses, mind you. Got it. Now let's go. Try to keep up with me, Daniel said. Orin laughed he would make this competitive. Orin and Daniel began to creep down the slope as quietly as they could, racing toward the bottom. He made some rocks slide down the hill, but the reptiles were partying too much to notice. I win, Daniel said when he reached the bottom first, but Orin didn't care. The boys quickly hid in some bushes just outside of the reptiles' line of sight. Pardon me. Orin peeked out of the bushes and watched them with wonder in his eyes. They arrived just as a wrestling match between 2 of them began, the crowd cheering them on. two burly reptiles, a stocky yellow reptile resembling what you call an ankylosaur, the other dark blue, very muscular and resembling a tyrannosaur. I've done much better research on Earth creatures this time around. That's the chronicler speaking, by the way. It was a fierce fight, with the ankylosaur pinning the tyrannosaur to the ground, wailing on his face. But the blue tyrannosaur, despite his bloodied and bruised face, grabbed his opponent's fists and rose to his feet, startling the ankylosaur. The muscular one then brutally headbutted his foe multiple times, then crushed his foe's fists. Orin could hear the bones breaking from his hiding spot. The muscular one then laid into the other with rapid punches, finishing him off by lifting him up and slamming his head into the ground. "Krakar is the victor!" a green dragon reptile proclaimed, and the crowd began to cheer. Orin gasped, his ears buzzing with excitement. "They can talk," he whispered. "They can?" Daniel asked, though Orin didn't notice. The other reptiles surrounded the blue one, giving him friendly punches and tail slaps to his body. "Incredible, Krakar! Utterly incredible!" Another yellow dinosaur reptile resembling a pterodactyl shouted. "All hail green Krakar!" A greenish-gray raptor praised. "Oh, please, was no challenge with muscles," the blue tyrannosaur said proudly in broken standard, flexing his muscular arms to show off. Then a massively obese reptile resembling a Komodo waddled over, his massive belly swaying with each step. "Krakar, Krakar, fight me next," he said, jumping up and down like a child. It sounded to Orin like he didn't have a good grasp on the human standard language. "Valakagolo, you're too soft," Krakar said. "I need solid foe. You're soft like queso dough, not good for challenge." "Oh, come on, let me fight you. I'm plenty tough," the fat one, or Golo as his name seemed to be, begged. He vibrated eagerly, his fat body jiggling non-stop. "Fight me now!" "Better do it, Cracky," a much smaller, gray chameleon-looking reptile insisted. "Dolo doesn't know the meaning of Valak." The blue dinosaur grunted. "Yah, let's go." The fight didn't last too long. The one called Krakar punched the fat one in his face with all his might, but it didn't seem to faze him, as he just laughed and slammed the tyrannosaur with his massive belly and tail. The tyrannosaur staggered, then unleashed a flurry of punches on the fat one, landing one decisive blow to his face, sending him flying through a tree, knocking it down. "Krakar wins again!" the green dragon cried again. "Haha, that didn't hurt at all," Golo said excitedly as he sat up. "Let's go again." "No chance, Glup," Krakar said as he sat down. "You fight like stupid Chupu. No dignity at all." "Oh, but Krakar—" The tyrannosaur didn't answer him, and the fat Komodo pouted. Orin was in awe of the fight. It was the most exciting thing he had ever seen. "Aren't they amazing, Daniel?" Orin asked. "They're even better up close." "Yeah, the Guardians are more impressive," Daniel said. "Oh, come on, surely there's one of these that you think looks awesome, right?" "Well," Daniel scanned the reptiles. "If I had to pick, that burly one is kind of neat." "Oh, I was going to take that one," Orin complained. "Really? I bet you would have liked the fat ones." "What? Orin sputtered. "No, I wouldn't. Don't be gross." Daniel snickered, knowing he called Orin's bluff. "Do you have a favorite, though?" Daniel asked. "I can't choose. They're all my favorite," Orin said. "I want to meet them all." "A really original answer," Daniel replied. Orin ignored him and returned his attention to the reptiles. He had to admit, though the muscular ones looked entertaining, the fat ones did look kind of cute. "Where is Grush Kroll? I'm starving!" the fat reptile barked, clutching his large belly. Something about that name made Orin shiver for some reason. "Quiet, you big lump," a fancily dressed iguana-looking reptile said. "The Grush Kalak won't be back until he's finished with his hunt." "But he's been gone for 2 days. I'll die before then." "Yeah, I bet he hasn't gone a full hour without gorging himself," Orin chuckled to himself. "What does that mean?" Daniel asked. Before Orin could answer, the two boys suddenly heard something loud coming through the bushes behind them, making their hearts skip a beat. They saw a large red dragon-looking reptile passing close by, carrying 2 dead animals called Dorzans on his back. He had a crazed look in his yellow eyes, and they were glad he didn't see them. The red reptile was cheered on when he returned to camp. The boys thought that was the end of it. Then heavier footsteps sounded behind them. Boom, boom, boom. Everything in the camp went silent after that. The footsteps drew near, and Orin and Daniel realized it was coming their way. They quickly scrambled under another bush, just in time to see the largest, most muscular reptile they had ever seen crush underfoot the bush they had just escaped from, carrying more Dorzans with him, though they could barely see him, as this one's scales were as black as the night sky around them. Orin peeked out of their bush ever so slightly to look at him. Then the black reptile stopped and sniffed the air. Orin was trembling all over, then froze when the black reptile turned their way. His eyes were as red as blood. This creature emanated power from his mere presence, and Orin hoped he didn't smell them. Fortunately, he simply scoffed and returned to the camp, where every reptile held their breaths. "I hope you limp-tailed nagroks haven't been causing any trouble in our absence," he said, his voice sending chills down the boys' spines. No, Grushkolak," the iguana said fearfully. "We would never dream of upsetting you, O mighty Grushkolak." "I should hope not," the black reptile said with a snarl, causing the iguana to jump back from him. Grush, Krakar and I fought," Golo exclaimed. "He got past me fat, but he didn't hurt me." "Oh, did he, you Krakar? Well done for whooping Golo," the black reptile said proudly to the muscular one. Several reptiles laughed at Golo's humiliation. Then the black reptile threw down his animals. "Well, what are you waiting for? The humans to find us? Dig in." The reptiles cheered, took the animal carcasses, put them over a fire, and a grand party began. Getting a little winded, but I'll keep it going. The reptiles prepared the food, and they began to eat, drink, laugh, and fight as others began playing on strange-looking horns and drums. "Arrah, Knucklar, get your stupid mud off me!" one reptile shouted, swinging a club to ward off what appeared to be a large four-legged lizard trying to steal his meal. The black reptile got a seat of honor, while 7 others, including the red dragon and Golo, the latter stuffing his face, sat near him. Several females danced, and the crowd whooped and hollered at them, while 2 snuggled with the black reptile. They talked about all kinds of things, from hunts to sporting events Orin had never heard of, and their home planet, which sounded incredible from their perspective. And they all sat down under a black flag with a red dragon skull for a symbol. Orin noticed that many of the reptiles, including the black one and his allies, had the logos tattooed on their chest. It was an impressive symbol, Orin had to admit. Orin couldn't peel his eyes away from them. Though they appeared so menacing, Orin couldn't help but admire the reptiles, even the black one. They were so bombastic and proud, unlike the terrifying images Orin was shown during his classes. Their music, while rough-sounding, had a distinct sound to it Orin found blood-pumping. And that dragon logo was so hypnotizing that he could barely look away from it. Orin was tempted to meet them, but one was punched out over something he didn't hear, and his body fell very close to him, so he stayed hidden. "All right, everyone, settle down. We don't want to attract the attention of the Guardians," the iguana said as they partied. "Don't be such a bunob, Garcoon," the black reptile said mockingly. "It's been a tense trip, so let the Shukas have their fun." "Yeah, or you could end up like the Orup that flew into the star," the chameleon said. "And do you all know why he did?" "Because he couldn't tell the star's golden fire from his own stolen wealth," the pterodactyl interrupted, making the crowd laugh riotously. "Arrah, that was my line," the chameleon snarled. The pterodactyl stuck his tongue at him. As the reptiles laughed, Orin did too. He didn't get the joke, but he enjoyed the reptiles' enthusiasm. "Still, the Guardians have ways of tracking invaders. We must be careful not to be too rowdy," the iguana said. The black reptile ignored him as he took a large sip of something nasty-looking and stroked one of his female companion's shoulders. Orin wasn't sure, but he thought he looked unsatisfied. Have you found what you were looking for, Grushkolak?" a stocky, snapping turtle-looking one said. The black reptile snarled. "Alas, no, Kuro-Sil. I swore I found a familiar signal, but nothing has come of it yet." "So then what? Has this trip been a bust?" the snapping turtle asked. "It would appear so." When will we stop hiding around? I want to strike the Guardian base," the pterodactyl complained. "Yeah, I want to catch more humans," Golo chimed in. Several others loudly agreed. "Patience, fellow Wakars. We cannot always go raiding. The human guardians will catch on to our activities sooner than later," the snapping turtle said calmly. "Bah! We've been hiding out here for 4 days, and we've only had 1 raid so far. Why did we come out to the Stumor-forsaken moon anyway?" the pterodactyl said. The others began to gnash their teeth loudly. "Tasharku!" the black reptile bellowed, and everyone went quiet. "I understand your disappointment, but this was never meant to be a large invasion. I have more important business that supersedes a typical Drulok raid anyway. Now will you shut your snouts, or shall I have to whip you for your insolence?" Many reptiles gulped, saluted the black reptile, and returned to their seats. "I apologize, Kuro-Sil," he said to his closest companions. "Do not worry, my allies. I'll make it up to you by invading another human settlement far away from human space." "You never have to apologize for anything, mighty Grushkolak," an orange cobra hissed sinisterly. The others shuddered at him. Do we have a clear path for an exit, Tecker? The black reptile will ask an indigo-colored parasaur with a bony crest on his head. This one was so quiet, Orin didn't notice him at first. Most definitely, the parasaur said, hunched over a holopad. The humans have yet to discover us. Tagoro, once we leave this worthless moon unscathed, then we shall launch another raid. My treat. His allies chattered enthusiastically about that. Even if we get out safely, do you think we can have a successful raid if Nuclear tags along again? The chameleon said snidely, pointing to the other side of their circle. Orin followed the chameleon's direction and saw another prominent reptile he hadn't noticed yet. Sitting somewhat near Quakar, but very much on his own, was a very fat, brown reptile wearing ragged clothes and a worn-out hat with horns poking out of the top. Orin gasped. It was one of the crocodiles. He had a presence all to himself, unlike the rest of the reptilians. At least, Orin thought so. The Black One's companions sneered at him, Golo especially so. "Oh, Salush, our most esteemed guest," the black reptile said. "I almost forgot he was here." He stood up and approached the fat brown one. "Well, Nuclear, can I trust you will assist us on our next raid and not hide back like you did last time?" "I did not hide back," he said, his voice quite gruff as he ate some meat. "You're full of it." "You were supposed to watch our flank," the red dragon hissed. "If it wasn't for the Grusha's quick thinking, we would have been slaughtered by the Guardians. I was not needed, and you know it. You just got too greedy." The brown one stuffed his face. "You're a balloonka, Nuclear," Golo said mockingly. "You're too lazy to do anything." "You're one to talk, big bloat, you big bloat." "Ah ha ha," said the smelly old mimic. "You'll never match me, Girth." Golo patted his large stomach to show off. "Would you shut up and leave me alone? I'm trying to eat." The fat brown one then turned his back on his fellow reptilians. "You are pathetic, Nuclear," the black reptile said. "You are a detriment to Tool Rakars everywhere. I'd kill you for your laziness if I was in charge of the Tool Agarash." Suddenly an animal snapped at him. It was the four-legged lizard Orin noticed earlier. Orin wondered if it was one of their pets. "And get the smelly beast out of here! Why do you always bring it everywhere with you?" I couldn't leave him home. He always wrecks my alark when I'm gone," Nuclear said. That answered that question. "Why did you even bring him, Quakar? He's such a Vosh rat," the pterodactyl exclaimed. Give him chance. He's one of us, is not?" Quakar said defensively, though this caused another argument to break out. Meanwhile, the one they called Nuclear just closed his eyes. He seemed miserable, and Orin couldn't help but feel sorry for him, though he had no idea why. There was something different about this one, though he couldn't put his finger on it. He definitely didn't seem as monstrous as that one lecturer proclaimed the crocodiles were. Orin wished he could reach out and touch him, because this Nuclear didn't look like he needed a friend. "Did I miss anything?" someone said in Orin's ear. Orin gasped, turned around, and then sighed with relief. It was only Daniel. "Well, you missed the party," Orin said. "It was—" He noticed Daniel looking dirty suddenly. What happened to you?" "Oh, nothing. I just snuck into their camp and stole a couple of souvenirs," Daniel said proudly. "You stole from the reptiles?" Orin said in bewilderment. "Are you crazy? You could have been caught." "Please, we made it out of the guardian camp and into this one. Those reptiles won't know they lost a few random items." Daniel reached into his shirt and pulled out an oddly cut jewel and some loose scales. "Check out these treasures. Real reptile skins. I bet some people back home would pay a lot for those ablaze," Orin said. "But not as much as that fight, right? Yeah, if you want them to flatten Terraris." Daniel looked over his items for a few moments before noticing Orin's wide-eyed look. "You look like you're enjoying yourself. Found your favorite yet?" Orin looked away from him. Daniel noticed him staring at the fat brown crocodile. "Yep, called it," he said. "You always like weird things." "If they're so weird, then why'd you steal trinkets from them?" Orin said. "Because they're quite appealing. They might be evil, but they sure have good taste for treasure," Daniel said. "So you do still like reptiles?" "Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not. I don't. I'm not a traitor to humanity," Daniel scrambled to say. "Besides, they're all ugly." "Ugly? Daniel, look at them," Orin said, pointing at them. "Look at their teeth, their eyes, their tails. Aren't they the coolest things you've ever seen? And that music. I've never heard anything like it." "Really? It sounded like plasma burning through phase shields." Orin turned to his friend. "Why are you like this? Are Zach's stupid stories getting to you?" "No, I'm just not interested in creatures that want to eat me," Daniel said dismissively. "I bet they were talking about their favorite way to cook humans." "They were not. They were talking about wrestling, and Quakar was telling Golo not to underestimate him. They made fun of that poor Nuclear, and they—" "Wait, hold on," Daniel said suddenly. "They have names?" Of course they have names. Didn't you hear them? All I heard were grunts and snarls. Grunts and snarls? Orin said with confusion. What are you talking about? Did you hear that joke they made about that aura thing that flew into a star? These guys are hilarious. He looked back at Daniel, who stared at him in utter disbelief. What? Can you understand them? Orin opened his mouth, then paused. Were the reptiles speaking another language? If so, was he able to hear them? His ears were no longer buzzing while Daniel talked, which happened the entire time he listened to the reptiles. I don't know, Orin answered after a while. I'm getting a little exhausted right now, but we're almost there. There was an uncomfortable silence. Let's get out of here, Daniel said finally. This place is giving me the creeps, especially that black reptile. I thought you said no one would find us out here, Orin said. That was before you said you could understand reptiles. You're one to talk after all that bragging earlier. This is serious, Or, Daniel said firmly. If the Guardians learn of this, they will kick you out of camp. We have to go now. Come on, Dan, can't we stay a little longer? Orin begged. What are you guys doing? Another voice suddenly said. The two barely contained themselves from screaming. They turned to see, of all people, Jace crouching near them. Jace! Daniel exclaimed. How the hell did you get here? I followed you, Jace said nervously. I saw you sneak out of camp through that hole you cut and wanted to make sure you weren't getting into trouble. We're not doing anything, Daniel said, hiding his stolen goods. We were just leaving. Jace ignored them and peeked out of the bush. Galaxy's End! Those are the lizards! He quietly cried. This is bad. We shouldn't be here. We're going to get booted from camp. I just know it. They're called reptiles, and no, we're not going to fight them, Orin said. We were just admiring them. This confused Jace and upset Daniel. Or, how can you admire those reptiles? Daniel said, scowling at Orin. Those creatures are vicious slavers. Oh, really? I didn't see any slaves nearby, Orin retorted. Daniel's mouth fell open. Didn't see any? Then what about those? He pointed out of the bush. Orin looked and grew uncomfortable. There were at least a dozen humans of many ages, scantily clad and filthy, cleaning up after the reptiles. Some were beaten for not going fast enough, and others were harassed by the reptilians for their amusement. There was no mistaking what he saw. Those were clearly slaves. Orin had no idea how he didn't notice them before. One human, a boy roughly the same age as Orin, was dragged back on a chain leash by the iguana. Stop your insolence, Bachelor, and come here, he ordered. The boy fought back for a moment, but tripped over a root and was forced to sit next to his owner, who stroked him like he was a pet. There, now isn't that better when we obey? The boy glared at his owner, but could do nothing to fight back. Oh, why does he get all the cute human pups? Golo complained. That's how they treat us, Or, Daniel said firmly. They will make us all slaves if they could. You don't know that, Dan, Orin said nervously. Some of them might be friendly. Will you stop embarrassing that poor human, you damn bunku? They overheard the fat brown one order the iguana as he was trying to feed his slave. He's just a child. Why do you care, Nuclear? The iguana snapped back. Are you feeling bad for this Baklor? Don't mind him, teeny Zorl. He don't know what he say, Quakar said defensively as the black reptile glared at the crocodile. See that? The brown one seems to not like their behavior, Orin said to Daniel. Oh yeah, just one. That sure proves me wrong, Daniel said, rolling his eyes. I bet he just wants to eat him instead. Oh, stars, Jace whimpered. Why did my parents sign me up for the Guardian program? Would you two stop that? Orin said, his temper rising. Have 2 cups of water just for this occasion, if you don't. Would you two stop that? Orin said, his temper rising. The reptiles can't all be bad. You guys need to stop listening to Zack and the Guardian's lies. Why? What are those creatures to you? Daniel demanded. I don't know, but something keeps telling me that my destiny is starting, whatever that means. Daniel would have argued further, but a loud noise broke his concentration. Who stole my Ralstone? The black reptiles shouted. The reptiles froze, as did the boys. Well, spit it out! An argument broke out among the aliens out of fear. Orin noticed something gleaming in Daniel's fingers. What's that? Orin asked. Nothing, Daniel exclaimed. Orin grabbed his hand and found a glowing gold gemstone. Oh God, you've stolen their treasure, Jace cried. We have to go. They're on to us, Daniel said. No, we need to return that item. You stole it after all, Orin shouted. I said we're going back. Daniel grabbed Orin's shirt, accidentally loosening his choker. And I said we're staying, Orin snapped back. None of the boys noticed Orin starting to glow. Guys, stop! Jace started, then was interrupted by a great flash of light and a sudden burst of energy shaking the area, causing a small landslide, and alerting every reptile in the area. The boys coughed up dust from the explosion and rose to their feet. They were slightly winded, but otherwise unharmed. What was that? Jace asked deliriously. Orin panicked and felt around for his necklace. He found it in his shirt and fastened it back on. Daniel, how many times do I have to tell you not to touch my necklace? He said angrily. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Then they heard the reptile speak. What by Cthulhu's wings was that? Sharka, we have invaders! The boys choked. The black reptile stared in their direction as if he sensed them. Groosh, what's wrong? The snapping turtle asked. Find the spies and bring them to me. They must have our treasure, the black reptile ordered, and the reptiles quickly got to work. Orin, Daniel, and Jace stayed as still as they could as the reptiles began searching the area. Jace was about to scream, and Daniel covered his mouth. Quiet, Jace! Do you want to get caught? Jace shook his head. Then Daniel peeked out from their bush. Follow me. Daniel crept out as silently as he could, stopping the moment a reptile came near. He dashed behind another tree the moment he was gone, motioning for Orin and Jace to follow. Orin took a few steps, then noticed Jace hyperventilating. Jace, come on! Orin said and began dragging him along. Despite Jace's fear, the three boys slowly but surely approached the hole under the barrier. Their training was paying off. The moment they saw the exit, Jace, overjoyed at the thought of escape, ran ahead without a second thought. Then Orin noticed something on the ground he didn't before. A snare beam trap. And Jace was running right for it. Jace, no! He ran forward as fast as he could and pushed the terrified boy out of the way, getting tangled in the snare himself. Even worse, a loud alarm went off nearby. Ha-ha! Told you guys our traps would come in handy! A reptile, the cobra by the sound of it, shouted with glee from a distance. Daniel and Jace ran to help Orin, and they tried to find a way to free him, but it was no use. Orin's fate appeared to be sealed. Allow me, Shukas, a familiar voice said. It was the black reptile. They heard loud footsteps approaching. Daniel and Jace began to panic and tried harder to free Orin. Dan, take Jace and go! Orin begged. Are you insane? I'm not leaving you here, Daniel cried. Just go! The footsteps came closer, and Daniel grabbed Jace and hid behind a nearby tree. Orin was sweating profusely. He had never felt more afraid. How would he survive this? Would anyone save him? Then he remembered something his grandfather told him. Never forget, God is always with you. He never believed his grandfather's words more than he did now, so he removed a choker, closed his eyes, which were brimming with tears, and prayed, unaware he was faintly glowing. The footsteps stopped. Orin turned his head and stopped breathing. The black reptile was looming over him. The black reptile got down on all fours and sniffed at the snare trap. Orin closed his eyes. God, anyone! If anyone is out there, please save me, and I will follow you for the rest of my life, Orin begged. He didn't believe this would work, until he heard the voice. Fear not, my son. Your journey isn't over yet. Just then, another alarm sounded in the distance. The black reptile turned that way, looking confused. He looked back at the boy, who shook violently, and bent over to look directly at him. Unless Orin was mistaken, he could have sworn he couldn't see him. The black reptile sniffed the air, then snarled in disappointment and bounded away. Orin had no idea at the time what had just happened. Did the black beast not even see him, though he was face to face with him? So many questions filled his mind, but there was no time for answers. He needed to escape the net. Daniel and Jace, who were watching him the whole time, were about to run back to him, then stopped. Someone else was approaching. Daniel and Jace hid away, and Orin closed his eyes again. Huh, so you managed to escape Kroll. You're a lucky little bugger, a voice said. Orin opened his eyes. That voice sounded familiar. Then suddenly, the snare trap deactivated, and he was helped to his feet. Orin looked up and gasped. It was the fat brown crocodile reptile the others were picking on. He couldn't believe his eyes. I knew it! I knew you were good, Orin cried. Thank you so much for... Then he stopped when he looked into the creature's wide eyes. They were so strikingly bright, and for some reason familiar. A vision flashed in his mind from when he was a baby, and this particular reptile was staring down at him. He had seen this reptile before somehow, but how? This couldn't be possible, though could it be? And the crocodile stared back at him with equal shock in his eyes, and the two knelt there for a few moments, that felt like they stretched into eternity. Daniel and Jace looked at each other, unsure what was even happening. Arrah, Noklar! Get your fat rump over here! We're gonna have a meeting! A reptile shouted in the distance. That snapped them out of their daze. The fat crocodile pushed Orin away and stood up. Go! He barked, pointing away from the camp. And never come back! Orin and even Daniel and Jace jumped. He had just spoken Galactic Standard plainly, but they did as they were told and ran out of the camp and back to theirs as quickly as they could. Orin looked back, but his rescuer was gone. They returned to their bunker without being seen. "Let's never speak of this again," Daniel said before he went inside. Jace glanced at Orin, quickly said, "Thank you for saving me," and followed Daniel. Orin waited outside for a moment, reeling from the night's events. That reptile just saved his life, and he never got to thank him. He knew there was a good one out there, but then again, maybe he was just saving his own scales. Why did he do that? And who was he? Why did he feel so familiar? Orin was about to return to bed, then noticed something in his back pocket he didn't before. He reached in and pulled out a most beautiful pendant, bright silver, and its design was a cross and a galaxy spiral. Orin was caught by its beauty. Then he wondered, where did it even come from? He didn't steal from the reptile camp, so how did he get this? Was it always in his pocket? It seemed so familiar, as if he had seen it in his dreams. Then he realized he had dreamed of it just before seeing the reptiles. What did it all mean, he wondered. Then a guard rounded the corner, and Orin ducked into the bunker, his head spinning with questions. Little did Orin know that this was where his journey truly began. Whew. And that's that. Ugh. A little winded from reading all that. It's kind of like running. Once you may feel like I was very nervous at doing that at first, but once I got into a rhythm, I just felt I was just on it and I just didn't stop. Again, like running. Whew. So yeah, that's something I wrote about a year ago. I did a little fine tuning of about a week or so ago before I do that, and so yeah, I just posted that and I wrote that and just wanted to share that online for anyone who might stumble across my channel. What I'm planning on doing, I have a little plan. I think I might also post those on my Substack, which I haven't really been using a whole lot. I want to make the first chapter free. Might also post the prologue too. I don't know about that. I'll at least make the first one free and like the second one be a paid deal. Probably only make it like $5. Need to find a way to market that. But yeah, that's something I've been working on for a long time. Maybe it could be tuned. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I do really like how I ended that chapter. I thought I had a good rhythm for that little intense moment. But yeah, feel proud that I got that out. Yeah. I just hope I can get this whole thing finished by then. I need to find some beta readers or something some people who can help me tune this thing down to the best it can be, because I want this to be the best thing it can possibly be. This whole story that I have here is something I genuinely believe could be something big if I get the proper marketing. Just love, like, don't mean to brag, but I just love all the characters that I've helped design. Like, I didn't draw all these. I didn't draw any of these because I don't know how to draw, but I have a pretty vivid imagination. I've had some good people help flesh these things out. Yeah, we just need some new stories these days. We just can't rely on Hollywood to just constantly just like churn out endless remakes and reboots of old IPs, decades old. We don't have any new stories now. Like, I can't think of anything that might capture the culture's imagination. Like something like, say, Stranger Things, that just ended last week. That just ended a few days ago, and I can't think of anything else that can take over for anything like that being as big as it was. I'm not saying I will be as big, but I want to dream that it can be one day. So yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, so that's it. Just wanted to share that with the internet. And that's that. I probably have to get going pretty soon. I've got work in about, 2 hours, over 2 hours, and I also have to pee from all the water that I've been drinking. So yeah, for anyone that tuned in, I thank you for joining. I don't know how many other streams I can do because I'm not very much into content creation. It's not really my thing. I would like to do that, but I think that would just be really dull and just take away my time from actually writing, because I feel like writing books is a lot more fulfilling to me. Yeah, if you ever want to keep that up, let's see. Give me a moment. I'll keep here's like a link to my Substack if you want to keep that. yeah, I'll have that posted later on. So yeah, I'll just post the first chapter free and the second one a little paid deal, and that's how I'll leave it. I'm not going to share everything else because I want people to read the rest of the story, obviously. So we'll see how big my book gets, because like if we can condense it into something maybe smaller, or maybe if I split it up, we'll see how things go. But I just wrote down just a ton of stuff, and it could possibly be over 800 pages long, which is not what I was intending. But we'll see how things go. So, yep, that's the stream. For anyone who watched this, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you some other time if possible. So